Hello and welcome. You're watching To The Point. Earlier today, Jayalalithaa was sworn in for a second consecutive term, and tomorrow Sarbananda Sonowal will take over in Guwahati. But as the new governments assume power, we turn our attention to a critical question that could force you to relook at the election outcome. Was the media right in presenting the results as a stunning nationwide victory for the BJP? Was it wrong to conclude that this was a rout for Congress? The small print and details that were initially ignored could present a very different picture. With me to debate and discuss the full details of the 5 assembly results is BJP Rajya Sabha MP and spokesperson MJ Akbar and the Congress Party's former Minister of Information and Broadcasting, Manish Tiwari. MJ Akbar, let's start with Assam. There's no doubt that winning the state was a stunning victory, but the truth is, if you compare your performance to 2014, in that year you won 69 assembly segments. In 2016, that came down to just 60. In 2014, your vote share was 37. In 2016, that has come down to 30%. And finally, even though Congress was beaten, its vote share in Assam in 2016 is still 1.5 percentage point above the BJP. So despite victory, can you deny that in Assam you're on a declining trend, not a rising trend?
Karan, if Congress spokesmen say that, one can perhaps understand, but for you as a very, very experienced journalist to make such assertions in your intro, I am a little surprised. You must remember that the BJP was not contesting all the seats. It was fighting in alliance. So its vote base is on a much narrower number of seats. It left a large number of seats. It is the strike rate which is important. First, second, you can't compare apples and oranges. Assembly elections have their own dynamic. Assembly elections must be compared to assembly elections. Remember that in the last assembly elections we got just 5 seats. From 5 to 60 is unprecedented, I think, in electoral history. It is absolutely unprecedented in electoral history.
Okay.
And who would have ever thought, who would have ever imagined that BJP would get a Muslim MLA from Kachar?
Let me, Manish Tiwari, put the opposite to you, because the opposite is equally damning from Congress's point of view. You had 78 seats in the old assembly. You're reduced to just 26. As MJ just said, the BJP had 5. With its allies, it's gone up to 86. That means that they have more than 3 times your total. No matter what other spin you put on it, seen the way I'm now putting it to you, this is a debacle for Congress.
Well, Karan, first of all, I have no intention of putting any spin onto cold statistics. The fact remains that yes, we lost Assam, but we lost Assam after having served the state for 15 long years. So therefore, at the end of 15 years, there could have been anti-incumbency against the government, and that's why the government in Assam has been replaced by the BJP. But as you very rightly pointed out, the fact is that if you juxtapose BJP's performance in Parliament to the Assembly, irrespective of whatever Mr. MJ Akbar may say, their number of seats has actually come down. And the second most important question which I want to raise, Karan, we may have lost Assam, we may have lost Kerala in a cyclical trend, but has the Bharatiya Janata Party won? Outside Assam, they have got
Manish
4
Tiwari,
seats
Manish Tiwari,
in the
let's
remaining
go
4 states.
Let's
So
go
therefore,
state.
is that a
I'm
victory?
stopping you because I want to go state by state. I think it's important for the audience we should do so rather than do it as one big khichdi at one go. Let's come, MJ Akbar, to the other state from which your party, the BJP, draws great comfort, Kerala. You're proud, and rightly proud, of the fact that you've opened your account by winning your first seat. But again, the truth is, if you compare your performance this time with 2014, in 2014 you were leading in 4 assembly segments. In 2016 you've only won 1 of them. Secondly, although your vote share has gone up in comparison to 2011, if you compare your vote share to 2014, you're static and stuck at just 11%, which means once again in Kerala there's no improvement in terms of vote share, and actually a decline in the number of constituencies where you were ahead.
I don't know where you got 4 seats BJP in the last assembly. Where is that come from? I mean,
the election
the
commission
whole
as well as
narrative
from
in
Outlook
Kerala
magazine,
was
from both.
that no, I don't think we had 4 seats in the last assembly.
Not had, leading in.
I don't think we had 4 seats in the last
MJ,
assembly.
we are misunderstanding each other. I said in
Leading,
2014, if you
leading in from
extrapolate
what?
the national
Sorry.
election results to the assembly segments, you were leading in 4 seats. Of those 4 seats, you've only won 1 this time round.
But in a national election, in an election for Delhi, I can tell you very confidently that the present vote share of the Kerala, which is about 14%, which is massive by itself, is going to rise to above 20 to 25.
Me, your vote
and
share
you can
is not
watch
14%.
that in the national election.
MJ, I have
that
to correct
election,
you. Your vote share is not 14%. BJP's vote share is 11, the same as it was in 2014. With your allies, it comes to 14.6. But I'm not counting your allies. On your own, you're just 11, which is what you were in 2014.
Well, all right. With the we didn't have an ally in the last assembly elections, or indeed in the general elections. I can tell you this alliance will stay, and this alliance will collect over 25%. You watch it. And you watch it because the central election has a different dynamic. You know, you've got to watch 2 things. One, whether in Assam or in Kerala, you watch what the alliance has done, because after all, we're going to fight together. Where is the trajectory? One is a count of seats, which is rational, because count of seats is what gives you your governments. The second is trajectory. The trajectory is not only rising for the BJP, but the trajectory is falling.
No, forgive me.
And if you
the
take other states,
in terms of vote share is static.
You'll find this pattern.
And in terms of assembly segments where you're ahead, it's falling. In neither case is it rising.
No, it's not. I'm sorry. In terms of assembly segments in Kerala at this moment, in this election, we were actually 7 or 8 assembly segments. We had a very substantial presence.
In terms of second and third position, yes, but not in terms of winning.
They were marginal. Yeah. Yes, but you know, it's a movement forward.
Okay.
That's the point. Movement forward, and the movement forward is going to move forward because in Kerala, according to all analysis and all assessment, there is a growing tiredness and a sense of deja vu with the 2 formations.
Well, we are looking into the future when you say that. Let me bring in Manish Tiwari. Because Manish Tiwari, MJ interprets the BJP's movement as a movement forward. I'm telling you that in the case of Congress, it's distinctly a movement backwards in Kerala. After all, the UDF, of which you were the lead, fell from 72 seats to 47. Congress itself fell from 38 to 22. And if you compare Congress's performance in terms of either seats or vote share with your 2 allies, the Muslim League and the Kerala Congress Money, both your allies have done substantially better than you, in the sense that they've lost fewer seats than you've lost, and they've lost fewer vote share than you've lost. So you were the drag in Kerala that pulled the UDF down.
Well, Karan, that's absolutely not true, for the simple reason that in Kerala, the cyclical trend of the Left Democratic Front for 5 years and the United Democratic Front for the next 5 years has really held the field. And even if I was to accept the hypothesis which you are making, the fact remains that out of all the UDF constituents, it is the Congress which contests the largest share of seats. So therefore, you know, since you contest the largest share of seats, and if there's anti-incumbency, you obviously take the largest hit. And it is correct, while our other constituents of the UDF, you know, may have done marginally better than what the Congress has done. The fact is, because of the large number that we have, you know, we do end up taking the largest hit in a situation like this. And may I also point out, for all the enthusiasm which the Bharatiya Janata Party is demonstrating, you know, they've been kicking around in the basement in Kerala since 1985. I recall there used to be a very strong Hindu Munani movement out there, So therefore, they've been trying to get their act together in Kerala. It's not worked. The fact is that the bipolarity between the Left Democratic Front and the United Democratic Front has held the field.
Let me interrupt and put this to you. You explained away your collapse in seats. You explained away your collapse in seats in Kerala on the grounds that you contested the largest number of seats, therefore you're likely to have lost the largest number. But when MJ Akbar explained away the vote share in Assam by saying that they had contested fewer seats and therefore the vote share would go down, you scoffed at his argument. But if your argument in the case of Kerala is correct, you have to concede his argument in the case of Assam has to be correct too. The logic applies in both instances.
No, in the case of Assam, it is correct. The Bharatiya Janata Party had contested more seats or more segments individually in the 2014 elections. But the real reason for the success of the Bharatiya Janata Party current in Assam is the rainbow coalition they were able to put together. The mistake that we made was possibly we did not replicate the Bihar model in Assam. And the BJP learnt from its defeat in Bihar and they were able to get the Assam
and you didn't learn from your success in Bihar. So you failed to use the winning formula where you should have, and therefore you failed to apply what was clearly a helpful formula.
I agree with you.
Okay, let's move, gentlemen, to Bengal. MJ Akbar, in Bengal, if you compare the 2016 performance to an extrapolation of your position in 2014, it's not just disappointing, it's a setback. In 2014, your vote share was 17%, it's fallen to 10. Again, in 2014, in terms of assembly segments, you were leading in 24, you only ended up winning 3 this time. So both in terms of vote share and in terms of assembly segments, it's not just disappointing for the BJP, it's a clear setback in Bengal.
I've told you, Karan, you have to compare assembly with assembly. The dynamic of assembly elections is quite different from the dynamic of a national general election. In assembly terms, and I'm happy you raised Bengal, and I hope you take some time over Bengal because Bengal is absolutely fascinating. In terms of assembly segments in Bengal, we had in 6 seats between 40 to 50,000 votes. In 16 seats between 30 to 40,000 votes, in 66 seats between 20 and 30,000 votes. This is absolutely stupendous performance for a party which was written off before, during and until the results and specific statistics came out by everyone. That no, you won't even collect. We only had a by-election
Can you permit an interruption?
Actually in Bengal, only one by-election seat.
Can I put this to you?
I mean,
in 2014,
by all means, but you know,
let me put this to you. In 2014, when Mr. Modi delivered 17% vote shares in Bengal for the BJP, you thought you were literally about to become the second biggest party. Your spokesman celebrated virtually in those terms. Literally 2 years later, your vote share has fallen by an astonishing 7%. That's why I put it to you that in Bengal, this is not a disappointment. Regardless of how many votes you got per seat,
I keep
actually in terms of the percentage vote share, you're doing badly.
My dear Karan, the day Narendra Modi goes back and asks for a vote for himself, Bengal will give him, 25% plus votes. Trust me. This is an assembly. Where the regional players and regional CM candidates are different. The most astonishing, vote share fall in Bengal has been of the Congress. Today, the BJP and Congress are even. Can you imagine this fact? The BJP and the Congress vote for in assembly.
Not quite even. They're 2 percentage points ahead of you.
The fact that
not quite
Congress,
even. They're 2 percentage points ahead of you.
Even. Okay, 1% more. All right. And given the fact that most of the Bengal seats for the Congress have come from only 2 districts, Malda and Murshidabad, one attributed to the Barkat Ali Khan Chaudhary family, which has a traditional hold, and the other because it is the fiefdom of Odhir, who is the local party chief. It's not the party which has won it. If you remove their influence, then the Congress actually is a very poor single-digit performance in Bengal.
Let me bring in Manish Tiwari at that point. MJ Akbar, it's only fair that if we talk about Congress, Manish should do the talking. Manish Tiwari,
in a state, Karan, may I just put it a little perspective, one sentence perspective, given the fact that even after polling, the Bengal Congress and the left said they were going to get 190 seats. 190 seats.
That's braggadocio, and you know it, MJ. You can't hold braggadocio against people. All people before the election results claim victory. They then change their tune when they know they've lost. But let me bring in Manish Tiwari now. Manish Tiwari, the truth, and this is in fact paradoxical, is that in Bengal, the criticism I'm going to put you is very different to the criticism I've been putting earlier, because here, you did clearly better than 2011, although only by 2 seats. You went up from 42 to 44. But had you allied with Mamata Banerjee, you could have got 10 or 15 more seats. You ended up only with an improvement of 2 because you chose the wrong partner. Foolishly, for reasons that no one can understand, you tied up with the left when you should have tied up with Mamata Banerjee.
Well, Karan, the straight answer to that is that the Congress today is the second largest party in West Bengal, and notwithstanding all the rhetoric of 30,000, 40,000 which the BJP may want to put onto it, the fact is that they just have 3 seats in West Bengal. Those are the cold, hard statistics, and they speak for themselves. And you already articulated the drop in vote share of the Bharatiya Janata Party. And now to answer your question with regard to whether we chose our alliance partner correctly or erroneously, the fact is that the entire West Bengal Congress was one in articulating that we should go with the left. We should not go with the Trinamool Congress. So therefore, the Congress leadership in Delhi respected the views of the party in the state, which we are often accused of not doing. And in this particular instance, irrespective of whatever people may say, I do firmly believe that the left Congress alliance is a natural alliance. It may not have worked in electoral terms, for the left this time in West Bengal, but this is an alliance which needs to be persevered with. It is the correct
That sounds like a suicide wish in the face of reality.
But even as a natural template.
What you're saying is, we lost once, but never mind, we'll carry on because we can afford to lose again. I mean, this is a suicide wish to continue with this alliance.
Karan, there are certain reasons as to, we did not lose to the Bharatiya Janata Party. Yes, we lost to the incumbent, the Trinamool Congress. There could be various other factors which could have been responsible for the defeat. But to say that the alliance was misconceived, that it was ideologically a disparate alliance,
I'm simply saying that the alliance with Mamata would have got you more seats, and seats is what you were fighting for.
I do not accept that thesis.
You were fighting for seats. You would have got more if you joined Mamata. You weren't fighting for the purity of your non-existent ideology.
Karan, the fact is that we are the principal opposition in West Bengal today.
By a small
and being
squeak,
the principal opposition in West Bengal, we have a logical trajectory to grow over the next 5 years. Today, the opposition in West Bengal is not the BJP. The opposition in West Bengal is the Indian National Congress.
Absolutely, I have to concede that, but whether it's logical that from this position you're going to take over the state, that's more hope rather than expectation, or leave aside experience. But gentlemen, let's come to Tamil Nadu before we then broaden out and look at the big white picture. MJ Akbar, in Tamil Nadu...
May I have a word on Bengal?
Very quickly, but a short word, because I don't want to get stuck on Bengal. Go ahead.
Very short word. Actually, you must, if you look at the history of the communist movement, the CPI, which was the parent party, collapsed after it compromised with the Congress in 1969-1970. The CPM actually pursued under Jyoti Basu and EMS Namboodiripad the very vigorous anti-Congress policy all these years, and which is one reason why they survived in many places. Once the CPM compromised with Congress, it collapsed in just 3 months.
Absolutely. And you wrote about that in your article recently over the weekend, but that's a question to put to the CPM, CPI, who we don't have. It's not really a question to put to Manish.
Yes,
gentlemen, let's move beyond Bengal, because this is a debate between Congress versus BJP.
On that.
But Manish, that's something for CPI, CPM to answer rather than you, because what he's pointing out is from the point of view of CPI, CPM, they were very foolish to have allied with you.
Just one line.
Go ahead.
Just one line.
Go ahead.
Just one line.
Go ahead.
just one line. The fact is that there was a Congress left alliance even in UPA 1, and that did not impact the left, you know, in the manner in which Mr. Akbar is trying to present it. So all I am saying is that there could be different reasons for the defeat, and to attribute everything to the alliance is completely erroneous.
Let's then come to Tamil Nadu, and I'll first begin with MJ Akbar. MJ Akbar, in 2014, your vote share in Tamil Nadu was 6%. It's literally halved to 3% this time. In 2014, in terms of assembly segments, you were ahead in 7. This time, 2 years later, you didn't win a single seat. I put it to you, Tamil Nadu is another bad performance by the BJP.
Not another, Karan, and I think you should grant that much, not another.
Do you accept that
Tamil
this is?
Nadu is the one
Do you
place
accept that this
where,
is?
Clearly the
But are you accepting this is a bad performance?
We have to work harder on this, but we'll have to work harder in Tamil Nadu. There's no doubt about it. I'm not going to, argue, shall we say, like a Congress person. But the fact of the matter, what is the most interesting aspect of Tamil Nadu, I find, is the drag factor which the Congress represented to the DMK. You know, the strike rate of the DMK was 50% of the seats it contested. The Congress contested in 41 seats, it won only 8. So in a sense, DMK handed over 30 easy seats to Jayalalithaa. 30 easy seats, Jayalalithaa. If the DMK had contested here and maintained its own strike rate of 50%, the DMK would have probably got 105, 110 seats, which would have really changed the nature and would have made the Tamil Nadu assembly far more volatile.
MJ Akbar, I'll take that as an answer only because you were good enough to begin answering my question by conceding that Tamil Nadu was a bad performance. Thereafter, you didn't talk about your own party in Tamil Nadu. You switched very cleverly, like a good politician, to expose the weakness of the other side. Let's take up that weakness, because in a very real sense, Manish Tiwari, that was exactly the question I was going to ask you. I accept that your seat count in Tamil Nadu has gone up by 3 since 2011, and that is source for pride. But this hides the fact that your strike rate was 2.5 times worse than the DMK. MJ correctly said the DMK had a 50% strike rate. What he didn't mention was your strike rate is under 20%. It's 19 point something. And as MJ points out, most analysts have concluded that if the DMK had fought more, it would have won. Allying with Congress turned out to be the kiss of death.
May I, Karan, on a slighter note first, address the aside of Mr. MJ Akbar that he would not like to argue like a congressman. I would only like to point out that today I have the privilege of arguing against a person who's been both the spokesperson of the Congress and the spokesperson of the Bharatiya Janata Party. You know, a rare, unique distinction which only a very few people.
We all learn, Manish, we all learn.
But be that as it may.
Yeah,
I can see
we all learn from our mistakes.
While you praise. The art of the diplomat.
We all learn from our mistakes. Unless, of course.
One day
you will, Manish. One day you will.
Therefore, there's a lot to learn from the Congress also. Well, I don't think it's going to happen
you have
in
to
this
learn
lifetime
from your mistakes.
Anyway, but be the. Well, I hope you learned from your mistakes of being on the wrong side now. So,
all right, gentlemen.
Anyway, so
come back to my question, Manish Tiwari. Congress was the kiss of death on DMK lips. You kissed Mr. Karunanidhi, but in this instance, Sleeping Beauty died. She didn't wake up.
Well, first of all, Karan, the Congress-DMK alliance got only 1.7% vote less than the DMK, the AIDMK. It's another matter that that vote share did not translate into those many seats, and therefore the AIDMK came back to power.
Which is the only thing that counts, by the way.
If I could take you back to the period before. Well, ultimately you're right. I mean, in the sense, though the difference in the vote share was only 1.7%, the fact is that for the DMK and the Congress alliance, it unfortunately did not translate into those many seats to get us past the winning post. that's a reality which I accept. Number two, if I was to rewind and take you back to the period before the campaign, the Congress complained, in fact the Tamil Nadu Congress Committee repeatedly complained that they have not been given the seats which they asked for. So now for anybody to turn around and say that your strike rate has been lower and therefore you've been the drag factor on the alliance is completely unfair, because though the seats which we ultimately ended up getting in the alliance, with great respect, are not the seats that we asked for.
How very
Had
interesting.
we got the seats that
in
we
other
asked
words, the
for, seats where
DMK
we
is
were
to blame for the
I'm
fact
sure
that
we would have
Congress didn't win
contributed
more.
more positively to
Your
the alliance.
ally is to blame for the fact you didn't win more. Your
I'm not
ally
saying
gave you
anybody is to-
deliberately bad seats to play with.
Karan, I am not trying to apportion blame out here. All I am trying to point out is to the fact of the matter. The DMK could have had their own compulsions. That is why they could not pass
Okay.
with those seats. But the Congress, on the other hand, was convinced that those are the seats where they had a winning chance which they didn't get.
Gentlemen, let's take a break at that point. We've talked about the 4 states individually, Tamil Nadu, Bengal, Assam and Kerala. When we come back, I want to extrapolate and talk about the big picture. How have Congress and the BJP performed when you look at the big picture, when you ask the question in terms of their nationwide performance? Is the media presented it? Or once again, is there a stark difference that becomes apparent when you look more closely at the details? That's the second part of this critical analysis. Join us in a moment's time after the break. Back here watching To The Point, and we're doing a critical analysis of the election results to see if today, when we look closely at the details, they differ markedly or at least significantly from the way they seemed on Thursday night and Friday morning. All right, gentlemen, let's now come to the big picture. And I'll again start with MJ Akbar. Assam was a victory without doubt. But in the remaining 4 states, MJ Akbar, West Bengal, Tamil Nadu, Kerala and Pondicherry, the BJP won only 4 seats. Seen in this light, you don't really look like a big national party at all.
If you look at the vote share, we do. If you look at the future, we do.
Well,
If you
forgive
look at
me,
the
then let
present,
me give you
we
the
do.
vote share.
I've
Because
told
the
you
vote share,
expansion that has
in
taken
those
place.
15, in those 5
Yeah, no,
states was
I'm saying,
published by
you are-
Outlook
you are
magazine.
comparing
Your vote
current
share
each
went down
time.
17 to 13.
Well, I mean, but I keep telling you from beginning, and I've said this 100 times, you don't seem to respond. You have to compare vote share with previous assembly, not with the national elections.
But I'm
When
telling
the
you why I'm
national
comparing it
elections-
this
when the
way,
national
because if
elections
you
come
take
in
the Congress
2019,
comparison, they only slipped by 1, you slipped by 4. You went 17 to 13, Congress went 19 to just
From
18.
where? From where?
214
which state?
compared to 216 in both cases.
In Bengal.
No, in the 5
Yeah,
states
but you
together.
have to remember where no, look at Bengal. You have to remember where you start. The Congress starts with began life with a 40% vote. And each time the Congress is slipping. This BJP begins till very recently with a minuscule vote, 1%, 2%, 3%. It's this it's the steady, consistent rise of the BJP into now assembly double digits. That's the story. And when the phenomenon comes of 2019, when Narendra Modi, the Prime Minister, asked for his vote, you will see the phenomenal shift that will take place. In assembly now, the
You hope
BJP
we
is
will
a
see that with
substitute,
certainty.
which is why the left now has begun targeting the BJP. Because it sees that the opposition space that is being vacated by the left and has been vacated by the Congress is increasingly being occupied by the BJP.
Let me put it like this, Manish Tiwari. In terms of the overall seats that were contested in the 5 states taken together, Congress won 100 compared to BJP's 64. But how much comfort can you draw from that 36-seat difference when the actual thing that counts, winning power in Kerala and Assam, eluded you? Both were states that you controlled and governed, you lost them. So even if in the end you won 100 seats compared to their 64 in all 5 states together, you can't draw much comfort from that statistic, can you?
Well, Karan, the number which I have is 114 to 65. So which is almost double the number of seats that the BJP won. which they have been tom-tomming as a great national victory. I agree with you. We were incumbents in 2 states. So therefore, we have lost those 2 states, and yes, you know, it is a setback, it is unfortunate, it is disappointing, but let's also remember that we lost Assam after, as I earlier pointed out, serving for 15 long years. Kerala has maintained the cyclical pattern.
So, but just a second,
and we continue to be
I don't think this
the single largest
anti-incumbency
opposition in
argument you're
West Bengal,
presenting is convincing,
as well as winning
overlooking Odisha, where Naveen Patnaik has won a 4th consecutive term, and his 4th victory was the best of the 4. He actually saw a vote share go up, seat count go up, both in the Vidhan Sabha and in the Lok Sabha. So this argument that, you know, we lost after 3, therefore that should be understandable, doesn't really count, because if you perform well, you'll win a 4th term. And remember, Jyoti Basu won 5 terms.
Well, let me put the counter argument to that. You know, there are certain states where there is political perpetuation, and there are certain states in which change takes place after 5 years, in others after 10, and then still others after 15. So therefore, if you are trying to make this argument that if the Congress would have done better in Assam, or it would have got its act together, it would have got a 4th term, I entirely agree with you. If we would have had the Rainbow Alliance, maybe we would have got a 4th term. So I'm not disputing that. But all that I'm pointing out is that it is not as if, you know, our performance has been completely abysmal and we've been totally wiped off the charts. The fact is that we have double the number of seats still than the Bharatiya Janata Party, and in almost every state where we have lost, we are the principal opposition.
Gentlemen, we're coming to the end of this debate between the two of you, but I want to put one fairly similar question to both of you, and it's to do with the way the media, both TV and the print, have either misinterpreted or wrongly interpreted the votes and the share and the performance of your parties. In your case, MJ Akbar, not just in Assam, but in the other states as well, the media overinterpreted the BJP's performance, as a result of which it painted a picture of grand success, when the truth is not just a lot more nuanced, but in several instances, a lot less pleasing. You benefited from a media that painted you in bright colors, when a few shades of grey and black might have been in order as well.
I'm really delighted to hear that, given the fact that the consistent narrative for 2 years has been that media has been sort of greying the atmosphere for the BJP, and the media has been hostile to the BJP. Look, Karan, you're in media. I was in media. The media does what it has to do. Sometimes it gets it right, sometimes it gets it wrong. But by and large, the media, you know, is not, yes, there are some elements of media, you know that, who are very, very deliberately partisan. But most of media just does its job, you know, and to the best of its ability, with reasonable honesty, and that's the way it is.
Absolutely, and I can't see you complaining about the media exaggerating your performance, because that's the sort of exaggeration you would not just welcome, you would obviously want as well, particularly when the truth doesn't live up to the exaggeration.
It's not exaggeration. It's not exaggeration. It's not exaggeration. The media got it right.
Well, you're bound to say that. And on behalf of the media, even when the media was wrong, let me thank you for being so kind and considerate to its error. Manish Tiwari, exactly the opposite happened to Congress.
I always.
The media interpreted your results as a rout, actually as an unmitigated rout. But when you look at the results more closely, there are a lot of silver linings to lighten the dark clouds, and the media only saw the clouds but missed the silver linings completely.
Well, Karan, since I have handled that remit, I am not going to shoot the messenger, you know, just because they got it totally wrong this time. I do hope that friends in the media apply themselves more diligently to the fine print before jumping to conclusions. I like to leave it at that.
All right, nicely put. Look at the fine print, boys. The detail is what counts. That's where the devil lies. But in this instance, the
media never advertises a Barmecide's feast, I can tell you that.
All right, gentlemen, we come to the end of this debate with both my guests smiling, and that's a good way to end. My thanks to MJ Akbar and Manish Tiwari for joining me. Look carefully at those election results. They're not quite what they seemed at first. The detail is always important, but the detail can sometimes be difficult to assimilate. If you have been, thanks for watching. Goodbye. Good night.